In this video, I shall begin a series for the life writing paper of Guwahati University. And this is the beginning of that series with the autobiography or life writing called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It is written by African American writer Maya Angelou, okay, or Afro-American. It is an autobiography. It was published in 1969 and it was written by, as I have already mentioned, American poet, memorist, and civil rights activist Maya Angelou. She was born in 1928 and died in 2014. And this book is the first in a 7-volume series. Throughout the autobiography, Maya Angelou has tried to elucidate or depict and explore countless issues of American society by her own life's incident, including identity, liberty, sexuality, struggle for freedom rights, for African American Black community, racism, literacy, plight of women in Black coterie, women empowerment, patriarchal society and its norms, mental and physical abuse, sexual harassment, and indelible trauma caused by all these problems. Besides, it is also a coming-of-age saga that depicts how Maya Angelou, with her strength of character, as well as determination and fortitude and love for literature, has compelled her to overcome this inexplicable pain and suffering and trauma owing to racism, inferiority complex, and numerous challenges of life and society. And the title of the autobiography, it is a symbolic representation of African American community as being caged bird in USA or in America. So you have to know about the history of African American and the history of slavery. Then only you will know the complicated issue of racism in USA. Okay. Then I will not going to reiterate here, and I will not going to explain. So I suggest you to go through the other texts or in the Google or in YouTube. It's your choice. And the title of the autobiography, this I have already told you, is a symbolic representation of African American community as being caged bird who have been fighting for their basic civil rights in America. On the other hand, the white people of America have been sketched, or they have been portrayed as a free bird and a symbol of authority and holding immense liberty and independence. Therefore, the caged bird in the form of young Maya Angelou and her Black root left no stone unturned to escape its cage from both patriarchal Black society and racist white community. Okay, apart from that, being born as a woman in the Black family, we all know if you have born or if you are born as women in any society, then your life is never easy. Okay, and that was the same thing for her too. Being born as a woman in the Black family, initially she has to suffer at the hand of her own patriarchal society. Then she had faced countless racist incidents from her own fellow white countrymen or her own neighborhood. Then the book began when 3-year-old Maya and her older brother were sent to live with their grandmother in Stamps, Arkansas. It is in the south, maybe, I'm not sure. And it ended when Maya became a mother at the age of 16 years. And unfortunately, Maya Angelou was also raped by some miscreant at the age of 8, and then she became pregnant. So that was also a very horrific trauma and pain she has endured in her childhood. So it is unimaginable pain for us, right? And so despite that, she has not given up hope to live life. Okay, so that's how a life works. So you have to keep on believing on the miracle on yourself, and that something good will happen like that. But in the course of the autobiography, Maya transformed from a victim of racism with an inferiority complex into a self-possessed, dignified young woman capable of responding to prejudice. So if you read this text, then you will know, you will be acquaintance many things related to racism, related to her life. So despite facing numerous incidents of racism, numerous persecutions, numerous sufferings from her own society, from her own family, from her own life, she has not given up. She has defeated all that her problems, and at last she became a self-possessed, dignified young woman, and she was also capable of responding to prejudice that was imposed by the white community or by any people who does not understand the Black culture, black history. And if she was not, or if she would not have written this text, then we didn't know about her, right? So that was also her determination that made this possible to write a book, and now all around the world people are reading these books, right? So after this, we will try to explore or discuss about the little summary of this autobiography. Hope you will enjoy it. So we have already discussed about the little background and uh, theme of this autobiography, and now we will discuss furthermore. In I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou, she has described her coming of age as a precocious but insecure black girl in the American South during the 1930s and subsequently in California during the 1940s. Maya's parents they divorced when she was only 3 years old, and then Maya and her older brother Bailey they went to live with their paternal grandmother Annie Henderson in rural Stamps, Arkansas. Then Annie, whom they called Mama, she ran the only store in the black section of stamps and became the central moral figure in Maya's childhood. As young children, Maya and Bailey they struggle with the pain of having been rejected and abandoned by their parents. Then Maya also found herself tormented by the belief that she was an ugly child who would never measure up to gentle, white girls. She did not feel equal to other black children. One Easter Sunday, Maya was unable to finish reciting a poem in a church and self consciously feeling ridiculed and a failure. Then Maya raced from the church, crying, laughing, and wetting herself. Then Bailey, her older brother, stuck up for Maya when people actually make fun of her to her face, wielding his charisma to put others in their place. Then, growing up in Stamps, Maya faced a deep seated Southern racism manifested in wearing daily indignities and terrifying lynch mobs. Then she spent time at Mama's store observing the cotton pickers as they journey to and from work in the fields. And when was 8, her father, of whom she had no money, arrived in Stamps unexpectedly and took her and Bailey to live with their mother, Vivian, in St. Louis, Missouri. Beautiful and alluring Vivian, she lived a wild life working in gambling parlors. One fine morning, Vivian's live-in boyfriend, Mr. Freeman, sexually molested Maya, and he later also raped her. Then they went to court, and afterward, Mr. Freeman was violently murdered, probably by some of the underground criminal associates of Maya's family. In the aftermath of these events, Maya endured the guilt and shame of having been sexually abused. So, this was a kind of harsh trauma that a male counterpart can never feel it, right? And she also believed that she bore responsibility for Mr. Freeman's death because she denied in court that he had molested her prior to the rape. Believing that she has become a mouthpiece for the devil, Maya stopped speaking to everyone except Bailey. Her mother's family accepted her silence at first as temporary post rape trauma, but they later became frustrated and angry at what they perceived to be disrespectful behavior. To Maya's relief but Bailey's regret, Maya and Bailey returned to Stamps to live with Moma. Moma managed to break through Maya's silence by introducing her to Mrs. Bertha Flowers, a kind, educated woman who told Maya to read works of literature out loud, giving her books of poetry that helped her to regain her voice. And during these years in Stamps, Maya became aware of both the fragility and the strengths of her community. She had also attended a church revival during which a priest preached implicitly against white hypocrisy through his sermon on charity. Besides, the spiritual strength gained during the sermon soon dissipated as the revival crowd walked home past the honky tonk party. Then Maya also observed that the entire community listening to the Joe Louis heavyweight championship boxing match desperately were longing for him to defend his title against the white opponent. With the passage of time in the autobiography or in the novel, in the text, we got to know Maya had endured several appalling incidents that taught her about the insidious nature of racism. And at the age of 10, Maya took a job for a white woman who called Maya Mary for her own Convenience. Then Maya became enraged and retaliated by breaking the woman's fine china, maybe a china product or like a cup. Then, at Maya's eighth grade graduation, a white speaker deva- devastated the proud community by explaining that black students were expected to become only athletes or servants. And when Maya got a rotten tooth. Then Moma took her to the only dentist in Stamp, a white man who insulted her, saying he would rather place his hand in a dog's mouth than in hers. So you can see the pain and trauma they had to suffer uh, just for the sake of their color, right? The last straw came when Bailey encountered a dead, rotting black man and witnessed a white man's satisfaction at seeing the body. Then Mama began to fear for the children's well being and saved money to bring them to Vivian, who now lived in California. Furthermore, when Maya was 13 years old, the family moved to live with Vivian in Los Angeles and then in Oakland, California. Then, when Vivian married Daddy Cleadle, a positive father figure, they moved with him to San Francisco, the first city where Maya felt at home. After that, she spent one summer with her father, Big Bailey, in Los Angeles and had to put up with his cruel indifference and his hostile girlfriend, Dolores. Consequently, when Dolores cut her in a fight, Maya uh, ran away and lived for a month with a group of homeless teenagers in a junkyard. Then she returned to San Francisco, strong and self-assured. Then she defied racist hiring policies in wartime San Francisco to become the first black streetcar conductor at age 15. So that was a bold move that you can also mention this thing in the exam. And at 16 years old, she hid her pregnancy from her mother and stepfather for 8 months and graduated from high school. Then the account ended as Maya began to feel confident as a mother to her newborn son. So, in that way, the autobiography ends. So, here I have just tried to present a brief picture about the autobiography. That's why I am appealing you to read the whole text line by yourself. Don't depend on my video. It is just a just an insight for you. It do not treat it as an absolute solution for your exam or for your study. Thank you so much.